was once a man named Mr. Plumbean.
Mr. Plumbean lived on a street where all the houses were the same.
Mr. Plumbean liked it that way.
So did everybody else on Mr. Plumbean's street.
Mr. Plumbean's neighbors would say, "This was a tidy town.
This is an orderly place.
This is a neat street.
We like it that way."
Then one day, a seagull flew over Mr. Plumbean's house.
He was carrying a can of bright orange paint. No one knows why.
He dropped the can right over Mr. Plumbean's house.
It made a big orange splot on Mr. Plumbean's house.
The neighbors exclaimed, "Oh,
too bad.
What a mess!"
Mr. Plumbean will have to paint his house again.
Mr. Plumbean said, "I suppose I will."
But Mr. Plumbean did not paint his house right away.
He looked at the big orange spot for a long time.
Then Mr. Plumbean went about his business.
The people got tired of seeing the big orange spot. "This is a neat street.
This is an orderly place."
That orange spot is very messy.
Mr. Plumbean will wish you wanted to paint your house.
Okay. He got some blue paint. He got some white paint.
That night, Mr. Plumbean got busy. He painted at night because it was cooler.
When the paint was gone, the roof was blue. The walls were white.
And the big orange spot was still there.
Mr. Plumbean got more paint. He got red, yellow, green, and purple paint. In the morning, the people came out of their houses. Their houses were all the same.
But Mr. Plumbean's house was like a rainbow.
There was the big orange spot, and there were little orange spots.
There were stripes, there were dots, there were zigzags.
The neighbors declared, "Plumbean has popped his cork,
Flipped his wing,
Blown his stack.
dropped his stopper."
That day, Mr. Plumbean bought carpenter tools.
That night, he built a tower on top of his roof.
He painted a clock on the tower.
The next morning, the neighbors saw Mr. Plumbean's house.
They cried, "Plumbean has gushed his mush,
Lost his marble,
Fizzled his twizzler.
toppled his temple.
That night, Mr. Plumbean got a truck full of green things.
He planted palm trees. He planted thorn bushes. He planted frangipani.
Then Mr. Plumbean bought a hammock and an alligator.
In the morning, the people came out of their houses. They saw Mr. Plumbean swinging on his hammock and the alligator lying in the grass.
The neighbors were outraged. "Plumbean has gone too far.
This used to be a neat street.
This used to be a proper place."
Why did you do it, Mr. Plumbean?
I am my house, and my house is me. My house is where I like to be. My house looks like my happiest dreams." The neighbors went away and talked among themselves. "Someone must have a talk with Mr. Plumbean.
Someone must tell him we like it before he changed his house.
Someone must tell him we need to have a neat street.
I'll do it."
That evening, the man visited Mr. Plumbean.
They sat under the palm trees drinking lemonade and talking all night long.
Early the next morning, the man went to get lumber, rope, nails, and paint.
When the neighbors came out of their houses, they saw a red and yellow ship. "He's just like Plumbean. He got bees in his bonnet.
He's got bats in his belfry.
He's got knots in his noodles.
I am my house, and my house is me. My house is where I like to be. My house is like my happiest dream."
Then one by one, all the people went to visit Mr. Plumbean late at night.
They would sit under the palm trees, drinking lemonade and talking about their dreams.
And whenever anybody visited Mr. Plumbean, the very next day they would set about changing their own house to fit their dreams.
Now, whenever a stranger comes to the street of Mr. Plumbean and his neighbors and complains it is not a neat street, Mr. Plumbean and his neighbors say, "We are our street, and our street is us.
Our street is where we like to be.
Our street looks like
Happiest dreams.